Y'all welcome to the Foolio trial. This is the closing arguments by the D.E.A. Scott Harmon. Now this Scott Harmon right here, he called himself the death penalty specialist. Like he specialized in putting people to sleep, put them to sleep, check them out, and he don't play, y'all. What he gonna be doing, he don't play. He went all out on them boys, on the duels. Let's see right quick. Can y'all please hit the like and subscribe? Thank y'all. This is the Foolio trial, the penalty phase, Scott Harmon closing arguments.
.56 round NATO bullets into Charles Jones' body. This is enough premeditation to convict 1,000 people of first-degree premeditated murder. Talk about cold-blooded. They are talking to him about a murder, and he's in there throwing gang signs when they leave him alone. He's described as calm, well-mannered, and non-confrontational. Well, he was certainly calm when he was loading that Impala, and he was calm when he was executing this murder along with his co-conspirators.
He's not
calm to the point of ice water in his veins. With that type of accuracy he was displaying with that rifle, we've heard enough. This is well beyond a reasonable doubt. When is it going to end? When is this evidence going to end? It just keeps coming. And
this guy's bragging
that you sentence each of them to death, knowing that it is the just and it is the right sentence in this case.
In day 4 of the penalty phase in the Foolio murder trial, the death penalty specialist Scott Harmon puts the nail in the coffin. Scott Harmon goes through all the mitigation factors the defense presented and argues why they don't outweigh the aggravating factors. This guy is so good at his job. It is very dark the way he words everything. Hit subscribe, let's go.
They sit over here and they are
shout out to Cub, boy.
Because last week 12 of you went back there and you came back with a just and a true verdict, convicting them, and they sit there in their guilt. They are convicted conspirators, convicted killers. They are convicted murderers. There is no doubt about that. What this is about is an entirely different thing. What you're here to decide today and going into tomorrow is what is the appropriate sentence for these defendants of planning and acting as a team in a concerted effort with one common goal: murder, the most evil and the most wicked crime that there is, the taking of another human life. I doubt any of you had any issue back there determining when you were deliberating that this was a premeditated crime. You would not have convicted him of conspiracy because you can't conspire. You can't have 4 people conspiring without premeditation. Was there premeditation in this case? Yes, but there was much, much more than just simple premeditation. These defendants in this case did this for over 2 weeks at least, making decisions, solving problems, working through their plan. This is much more than simple premeditation. These 4 defendants, by June 6th, the evidence tells us, had already planned, had already conspired, were already teaming up to snatch Charles Jones' life from him. The X Spaces discussion that was going on between Isaiah Chance.
I'm going to be shaking my head this whole video. Like, it's all so stupid what they did, bro.
And what happens after that communication between them? Sean Gathrigh's phone has communication from his co-defendant Rashad Murphy's phone at approximately 11:18 hours. And shortly after that recording was obtained by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office at 22:36 hours. Isaiah Chance arguing with Charles Jones. You remember his words? Hey, Julio, how's your foot doing? Make sure, this is out of Rashad Murphy's mouth. Make sure, brah, in a good headspace.
If you're new to my channel, hit subscribe right now. I upload constantly. Back to video, guys.
Before he go with his move, we got bigger shit to tend to. They ain't worth an inward energy right now. That's directed at who? That's directed at his teammate. And what does Mr. Gathright do? 17 days before this murder happens, he likes that. He likes it. And then he replies, I ain't heard from bro today, but I'm going to check in with him. And then Rashad Murphy texts back, he probably not going to pick up. He on IG letting these N-words get him out of character. He turned up on that MF right now. And then Mr. Gathright, damn, all right, let me see what's up. So what does that tell us? That tells us that the plan was already in place.
That is what the evidence says. They were already planning at this point. Everything was in motion.
More than 17 days before. This plan had been birthed, hatched, and formulated before June 6th. Before June 6th. They were going to take out 6, and they were going to take out whoever might be there that might be in 6. Because why not? And anyone else standing around, anyone else that might get in the way, well, that's just collateral damage. Why is the state going back through the facts with you? Because in the aggravating factors that you're going to be instructed on in this case, we are relying on that evidence. we are relying, as you saw, solely on our evidence.
Davion looking nervous
of this trial. Now, we did present some evidence. That evidence goes to rebut their suggestions of mental health mitigation, which you have seen have completely been rebutted.
The brain scan testimony with the dude said, you're completely wrong, to the defense lawyer was rough.
It is because of the extremely heightened level of premeditation in this case that the state is presenting you with the aggravating factor, one that the law speaks to, of very cold-blooded murders. The aggravating factor of cold, calculated, and premeditated, that this murder was committed in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner without any pretense of moral justification. That is the aggravating factor. Mr. Murphy with his fully automatic Glock. It's very rare, folks, that an execution is caught on video like this.
Rashad with the Glock switch, Sean Gathright with the AR.
Look at the teamwork. Look at the precision. Look at the efficiency.
Davion up there.
That evidence alone, standing alone, without the X spaces evidence, without the Airbnb evidence of no one going through the front door, without all the other evidence, the evidence of Mr. Chance and Mr. Gathright.
I just jump scared y'all with David. I got pictures.
Coolly, calmly, businesslike, loading up that Impala. Without any of that evidence, you could look at this alone and your common sense would be screaming at you that this is the product, this type of murder, it's the product of heightened premeditation. That doesn't happen without conspiratorial premeditation, planning, wearing disguises to cover their identities. And not just disguises, folks. They're wearing all black to hide in the darkness, to hide their skin, to hide their faces. They're wearing hoodies. These are disguises. These are items that they brought with them as part of this plan. This alone, this evidence and the efficiency, the positioning demonstrates the premeditation and the planning that went into this. And this evidence alone would be sufficient evidence beyond any doubt that this was a product of heightened, cold, calculated, premeditation. This is a fully formed, committed mission that they are on, that is immediately executed. As soon as the opportunity presents itself, they come out of the shadows where they're hiding. And we saw Mr. Davion Murphy, who snuck down behind those cars. And you heard me asking these forensic experts, isn't that significant that he did that he had the mindset and cognitive ability to hide behind the cars to avoid being detected by a very wary victim, someone who had his life almost taken 9 months before in an attempted murder that Mr. Gathright is connected to by physical scientific evidence. A very wary prey.
There's no way you can feel bad for Sean. Like, he spun the block. He shot Foolio twice, once in the foot, then 9 months later, and he's connected to another unrelated murder, and he was in a shooting in Mississippi. Like, you can't feel bad for Sean, bro.
How Mr. Gathright can continue in a persistent fashion, chasing after the Charger, pumping rounds into it. And then we didn't even get to following down behind the cars and unloading down the west side of the hotel. So this is the aggravator. The first-degree murder was committed in a cold, calculated, premeditated manner without any pretense of moral or legal justification. Cold means the murder was the product. Calm and cool reflection. Calculated means having a careful plan, a plan that is carefully constructed.
He's going through all the aggravating factors.
So what does this mean? It simply means that there is no claim of justification or excuse, even if it was insufficient to reduce the degree of the murder, that it would rebut the otherwise cold, calculated, or premeditated nature of this murder. Folks, there is no way to rebut the premeditated nature of this murder. There's just simply no way. There's way too much evidence of it. It is part of this. It's part and parcel of what we watched on that video. You cannot separate the two. To commit that type of crime would be impossible on the spur of the moment. That crime doesn't just speak of a lack of impulsivity. Remember hearing that term earlier in the last day or two? It doesn't just speak of a lack of impulsivity. It screams that this was extremely planned, that this was a designed mission. Just
sorry, bro. You gotta look like you care a little bit when the jury's deciding if you're gonna get the death penalty.
Investigative efforts of the Tampa Police Department and the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office in this case. Mr. Murphy obtains the Chevy Cruze, the silver Chevy Cruze. That's his first part of the contribution to this case. The car that's utilized as surveillance and as a spotter car, a car that's outside of the circle. Then Mr. Murphy on his Airbnb account, sending his ID and reserving that Airbnb. And now we see the teamwork coming in. Right around the same time, within minutes, you remember in the evidence, Isaiah Chance receiving a $390 payment from another gang member, an ATK gang member, J. Breezy, sent to his Mr. Rich Off War Cash App. And that payment is made to Airbnb. It's paid.
Just like I said in the past, I'd be terrified of a RICO if I was these guys.
Tired of having to stream in 720p in StreamYard or having to pay more to get 1080p quality? We got you. Start using EVMux, which is a web-based live streaming tool that allows you to be able to stream and record in 1080p full HD completely for free. Go to evmux.com and create your free account.
Guys, man.
If the video of the murder itself doesn't establish how premeditated and planned, we need only look at this video, because even if you got rid of the X spaces discussions and you didn't have the earlier in the morning paying of an Airbnb, and you have these two defendants, Mr. Gathright and Mr. Chance, businesslike. Look at him. Look at the confidence that Mr. Gathright carries with him. They could very well have been packing to go on a cruise or something. And they are packing up that Impala with high-powered rifles, with ammunition, with disguises, the tools they would need to carry out this mission. That's in the afternoon. That is hours, 20 hours or so before the murder happens. And then when they get to Tampa, and they have to drive, remember, because this conspiracy now is traveling from Jacksonville down here to Tampa. They have to travel for 3 hours to get down here. And they're coordinating. We saw that in the LPR, that both these cars are following and coordinating, again, showing advanced planning. But when they get here, we see this real-time demonstration of premeditation on the part of Mr. Gathright. Man, you know, I want it myself. If I could, I would have had so many hoes there. I know somebody can get it from them. Get the B&B for me, gang. They're all trying to find the Airbnb. And then after the run to the McDonald's, get provisions for this assault team.
Provisions, fueling up on some McDonald's, baby.
All have a dinner, a late night dinner to make sure they got enough energy. They start coordinating. And remembering the evidence, by this point, these two defendants, Mr. Gathright and Mr. Chance, they've already gone down to teasers. They've already cased the teasers. They've already checked it out to get the lay of the land. They start coordinating. Mr. Chance is not using his phone because he's going to use his girlfriend's phone. He doesn't want to use his phone. He doesn't want to be tracked, and he doesn't want to be connected. So they start sharing information. Mr. Gathright stores Ms. Andrews' phone's information and his phone in a contact. They start sharing locations with each other. Now we're up to 208. They're still communicating with each other, coordinating. We see the coordination. We see Mr. Chance and his contributions starting here in the actual pursuit, the stalking, and the hunting of Charles Jones. He's at teasers. As Miss Doherty told you, he's wearing a hoodie. He's wearing a COVID mask. He's using his girlfriend as kind of a decoy or camouflage so that he's not standing around in the middle of the summer wearing a hoodie and a mask looking suspicious. It's just a young couple walking around in the parking lot. And they are there and they're observing Charles Jones and his friends as they're at teasers, still communicating. Now, does that speak to you, someone who has a cognitive impairment? Rashad Murphy running back to the car. The image on the right, if you look at the direction of his head, he's looking towards the fleeing car. His direction is towards Charles Jones' Charger. And you can see in this image, he's now moved slightly forward and he's still looking in that direction. They finally get back to Jacksonville the next day. And for the first time in all the evidence, the ghost is revealed. Rashad Murphy in person. Showing up.
He fucked up so bad getting in this Uber and getting on camera here. Because if it wasn't for that, he wouldn't be on camera anywhere without his face showing. Oh, wait, never mind. Walmart. He's on camera in Walmart with the same outfit. This guy, they're so stupid.
Rashad Murphy, who tried to conceal, to try to protect the conspiracy 17 days before when Isaiah Chance was talking to the victim and arguing with him, trying to get him to stop. You don't want to give us up. You don't want them to know what we're up to. And Fat Boy with him, not here in Jacksonville. No, they in Tampa. What? She still doesn't understand, but that doesn't stop him. He persists. Play like you know it. Face Fat Boy going to Beezer's tonight or some shit like that. Clearly, this defendant was persistent that night and tenacious in his attempt to locate Charles Jones. And then we know that in addition to all of this effort and involvement in this case, because folks, the evidence in this case shows there is no defendant sitting over here. There is no defendant in this case who did more to orchestrate this murder than Mr. Gathright. They may be as involved in him, but nobody exceeds his culpability in this murder. He adds and provides the car for the assault team, the Impala.
He's a cold-blooded killer.
He drives all the way down there and takes the entire intelligence and surveillance team with him. We talked about this, how he drove around the parking lot, how he maneuvered and kept the assault team from being detected. That's on that defendant's shoulders in this cold, calculated, premeditated murder. And where does this whole thing end? Back at the Gathright residence in the suburbs in Jacksonville. Now, he's not there. No, this defendant's not there. He's over in Auburndale in Polk County, dropping the Impala off with his unsuspecting grandmother, leaving it with his grandmother, and then driving off in her 4Runner, now loaded with all of that ammunition and all that other evidence. This evidence alone and this aggravating factor alone, if we had no other aggravating factor, would justify a sentence of death for each one of them. Wanted to be a merchant marine. He was a longshoreman who had to go through the application process to get a TWIC card to be able to get into the ports, which are regulated by Homeland Security and TSA. Mr. Chance did not personally carry, display, use, or threaten to use, or attempt to use a firearm during the commission of the offense. Well, he didn't, but Mr. Chance supplied. He supplied and certainly carried from his BMW into the house. And it went along the trip. It went along with them all the way down in that Impala, and Rashad Murphy utilized it in the commission. I would suggest the evidence has clearly disproven that Isaiah Chance has borderline intellectual disability or ADHD. Isaiah Chance cherishes fatherhood and has a great relationship with his 3 children. That's mitigating, and you should consider it. It's been proven. Isaiah Chance has a loving and close relationship with his parents, his sibling, his grandmother and godmother. I can't imagine a better grandmother. The state cannot imagine a better grandmother than his Nana, and his mother, and his father, who appeared by Zoom and talked about his son. So yes, that's been proven. Possibly the material. Well-being of the family that Mr. Gathright grew up in. He lived in Japan. He visited Europe. He had every single opportunity. He went to a magnet school, traveled abroad. He has entrepreneurial initiatives, including running small businesses. Sure, yeah, it's definitely proven. If you want to find that mitigating, that's fine. Engaged in creative, constructive outlets, including photography and media work. At one point in his life, yes, he did, clearly. He has shown resilience, adaptability despite adversity. And you see one mitigator here kind of contradicting another, and that's what we heard in the evidence, how resilient and adaptable that this defendant was when he was growing up. Out of necessity, he had to learn to be. And the existence of any other factors in Mr. Gathwright's character. So, speaking of the prison, I want to talk about Raul Benasco's testimony, because the man who's going to be paid $4,000 or $5,000 to come in here and give us this amazing news that prison is tough. Well, yeah, prison is tough. Life is life. Life without parole. That's a tough sentence. Is it punishment? Because you've heard that kind of all through the beginning of this penalty phase. Life without parole is punishment. Yeah, it's punishment. It certainly is punishment. And a death sentence is punishment. You need to decide what the appropriate sentence is. It's not the direction of that La Quinta Inn, where Pedro Gabor was staying with his wife and his 10-year-old son and his 6-year-old daughter, here from Ocala to go to the Lowry Park Zoo, And Mr. Gathright, he doesn't care. He's not stopping. There's no cause for concern. He's opening up with a .556 NATO caliber high-powered rifle, and he's firing it directly into the path of that Holiday Inn and that La Quinta Inn. And we know that was a high-powered round that went through that air conditioning unit, through that brick wall, coursed across that room, and struck Pedro Gabor's wife in the ankle. That didn't stop Mr. Gathright. Mr. Gathright was firing indiscriminately right towards all of this densely packed humanity. Having driven around that parking lot and seen all those cars, knowing that this is a hotel complex, you saw the big signs outside. There's no mistaking where they were. He is firing. He's firing directly up to the left in that image of that hotel, straight up there, pushing those rounds rapidly with that firearm that he has no stock on it, right? And he's firing it directly to the northeast.
Davion really was just spraying in the general direction of a full hotel. Like Sean, you could tell, was aiming a little bit better than Davion. Sprayed, had no control over that gun.
And they hear all the shooting, and then a round flies through the window and cuts across the room, the boyfriend grabbing her and pulling her to the ground. That defendant it didn't stop him at all. Your vote stands on that evidence and that assurance. And you can have that assurance that night. You can be assured of the correctness and the justness of that sentence of death the next day, through the weekend, into next week, into next month. For the rest of your lives, you can know that your sentences in this case are just and right sentences. Robert Louis Stevenson, who wrote those wonderful books, Treasure Island, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, stories that we've all heard in our lives. He was a great writer. He was a poet. He was a national hero in Scotland and is still revered there today. But he's also known for this quote. Eventually, everybody sits down to a banquet, a banquet of consequences.
95%. I'll give him 5% chance they don't. But it's different for each one. Like, I feel like Isaiah could slip by because he didn't pull the trigger at all. But the shooters, I feel like it might even be 99%. Hey, subscribe. Thanks for support. Peace out, boys.
Apparently, you can go from 0 to a complete site in just a single prompt with Wix Harmony. I don't know if this is going to be
Mr. Gonzalez, are we waiting for Mr. Hernandez?
We got a verdict, y'all. We got a verdict. They see we got a verdict. We got a verdict. Let's see the verdict in. Let's go.
Hernandez or no?
Judge, he was not with us downstairs, so I'm not sure where he is.
Okay.
I'm sure he's close. If you don't mind, can I text him for 1 minute, Judge?
Sure.
The one that made it in the middle over there. He's gonna walk back with you.
Which one?
Is that in the middle there? Lugo? You know Lugo?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Why?
Okay.
He's not, okay, yours, David. Yes.
Oh, they just spell fake. They're not gonna kill him. Yes, they're not gonna kill him. They're not gonna kill this guy fake. They're not gonna kill him. Boy, young man. They got fast. They got people that they watch how much they still make. Law, y'all, people still real life. I'll give you a chance to be free.
Judge, Mr. Hernandez says that he would.
I'll give you a chance to be free.
Okay. See,
They want what? They want stuff.
He's at Starbucks, Judge, which is, I guess, on the corner.
Yeah. Okay.
4 blocks away.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yo.
Judge, the court can go on.
Yeah, okay, let's do that, just because everyone else is here.
Understood, Your Honor.
It's been a long 6 weeks and I don't want to keep the jury waiting unnecessarily, so, okay. All right, very good. Time stating the jury has reached a verdict, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Bring in.
Thank you, Judge.
I just need to remind everyone again, there's not to be any audible reaction after the jury's verdict is read, okay?
It's China family right here.
Major,
Yeah.
all right.
Sister, grandma. What think about this illegal spraying on the
Okay, very good. Everyone have a seat.
got fake?
And it's my understanding the jury has reached its verdict for the penalty. That's correct? All right, very good. You can hand the verdict forms to you.
Thank y'all, man. I feel like the boys here. I was careful. No, so they got to reprint what they did. Let me do it. Yeah, wait, what a big boy.
Please publish the works.
Right there. Take that. This shit hard, y'all. Look at this young man. 1, 2, 3, 4. Young men. And a good family. One. Oh,
Defendant Isaiah Chance, verdict form, penalty phase. We, the jury, unanimously find the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Isaiah Chance committed the homicide in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner without any pretense of moral or legal justification. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Isaiah Chance was a criminal gang member at the time of the homicide. Yes. We, the jury, have unanimously found the state proved one or more aggravating factors. Each of us has considered whether one or more mitigating circumstances exist. Each of us has weighed whether the proven aggravating factors are sufficient and whether the proven aggravating factors outweigh any proven mitigating circumstances. We have further considered whether Isaiah Chance should be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole or death. We, the jury, finds Isaiah Chance should be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Dated this 15th day of May, 2026, in Hillsborough County, Florida. Miss C.S., foreperson of the jury. Defendant Sean Gathright, verdict form, penalty phase. We, the jury, unanimously find the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Sean Gathright committed the homicide in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner without any pretense of moral or legal justification. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Sean Gathright created a great risk of death to many persons.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform made for anyone with an idea and a drive to bring it to life.
Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Sean Gathright was contemporaneously convicted of a felony involving the use of violence to another person. Yes. We, the jury, have unanimously found the state proved one or more aggravating factors. Each of us has considered whether one or more of the mitigating circumstances exist. Each of us has weighed whether the proven aggravating factors are sufficient and whether the proven aggravating factors outweigh any proven mitigating circumstances. We have further considered whether Sean Gathright should be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole or death. We, the jury, find Sean Gathright should be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
All right, Sean.
Dated this 15th day of May, 2026, in Hillsborough County, Florida. C.S., foreperson of the jury. Defendant Rashad Murphy, verdict form, penalty phase. We, the jury, unanimously find the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Rashad Murphy committed the homicide in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner without any pretense of moral or legal justification. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Rashad Murphy created a great risk of death to many persons. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Rashad Murphy was contemporaneously convicted of a felony involving the use of violence to another person. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Rashad Murphy was a criminal gang member at the time of the homicide. Yes. We, the jury, have unanimously found the state proved one or more of the aggravating factors. Each of us has considered whether one or more mitigating circumstances exist. Each of us has weighed whether the proven aggravating factors are sufficient and whether the proven aggravating factors outweigh any proven mitigating circumstances. We have further considered whether Rashad Murphy should be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole or death. We, the jury, find Rashad Murphy should be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Dated this 15th day of May, 2026, in Hillsborough County, Florida. C.S., foreperson of the jury. Defendant Davion Murphy, jury verdict form, penalty phase. We, the jury, unanimously find the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Davion Murphy committed the homicide in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner without any pretense of moral or legal justification. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Davion Murphy created a great risk of death to many persons. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Davion Murphy was contemporaneously convicted of a felony involving the use of violence to another person. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Davion Murphy was a criminal gang member at the time of the homicide. Yes. We, the jury, have unanimously found the state proved one or more aggravating factors. Each of us has considered whether one or more of the mitigating circumstances exist. Each of us has weighed whether the proven aggravating factors are sufficient and whether the proven aggravating factors outweigh any proven mitigating circumstances. We have further considered whether Davion Murphy should be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole or death. We, the jury, find Davion Murphy should be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Stated this 15th day of May, 2026, he asked for a person of the jury.
All right, members of the jury, now I'm going to ask you all the same question, similar to what happened after guilt phase. So I'm going to ask you about the jury's decisions that you have just heard. Juror number 9, initials D.E.A. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Juror number 16, initials A.M. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Juror number 19, initials L.Y. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Juror number 24, initials W.W. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Juror number 32, initials C.R.P. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Juror number 47, initials A.M. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided?
VoiceMod gives you over 150 lag-free real-time voice changers and unlimited soundboards. Whether you want to speak with a realistic
Battlefield radio voice
or clear up your comms with the voice enhancer, our app works.
Juror number 49, initials C.G. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Juror number 78, initials A.C. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Juror number 142, initials T.L. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? And juror 157, initials C.S. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? And juror 158, initials J.H. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? And juror 167, initials J.E. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? All right, I have one last formal instruction for you all, then I have something more personal to say. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank you for your time and consideration of this case. I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges enjoyed by jurors. No juror can ever be required to talk about the discussions that occurred in the jury room except by court order. For many centuries, our society has relied upon juries for consideration of difficult cases. We have recognized for hundreds of years that a jury's deliberations, discussions, and votes should remain their private affairs as long as they wish it. Therefore, the law gives you a unique privilege not to speak about the jury's work. Although you are at liberty to speak with anyone about your deliberations, you are also at liberty to refuse to speak to anyone. A request to discuss either your verdict or your deliberations may come from those who are simply curious, from the media, from the attorneys, or elsewhere. It will be up to you to decide whether to preserve your privacy as a juror. On a much more personal note, these are tough cases. These are tough cases. And I've handled a lot of tough cases. This is my first rodeo.
There's our have it.
It's my understanding that jury has made different verdict. That's correct? All right, very good. Then again, the verdict was prevailed.